Everyone, and welcome back. If you are new here, then hello, my name is Zoe and this is my YouTube channel. Today we are doing another product review and we're doing another foundation review today, which I'm really excited for this one. We are going to be reviewing the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Foundation. Now, I've always wanted to try this foundation, however, I've always heard of how heavily fragranced it is and it's always put me off purchasing it, but they have recently changed their formula. This is a brand new formula with no fragrance in, so I had to try it and see what all the hype was for myself. I've always heard amazing things about the actual foundation itself, but the scent I think put a lot of people off, and I did hear it was quite strong, so I'm really glad that she's decided to change it and make it so there's no fragrance in it. So let's open it up and see what we have inside. This I think retails for about £34, and this is what it looks like. It's quite a bulky bottle I think for a foundation, and this is plastic. To be honest, I was expecting this to be glass for like a more high-end foundation, but because the bottle is a little bit bigger and a bit more bulky, the plastic part doesn't really bother me that much because it's a lot more lightweight than it would be if it was glass. So as usual, I'm just going to quickly read a few things that it says about it online. It says the true filter effect gives instant coverage so seamless that it immediately unifies skin tone and texture as it blurs skin to give a radiant finish. The non-cakey formula is life-proof, waterproof, super long wear, 24 hours, transfer-proof, fade-proof, sweat-proof and humidity-proof. So it's sounding like it does everything. It's also now fragrance free, which is amazing, and it says it's formulated for all skin types as well, which is really interesting because especially when I'm looking for foundations to use on clients, I like to use foundations that are suited for all skin types, so that's very interesting. It says it's a full coverage liquid foundation, so I'm going to be doing full coverage today on myself, and it's also a luminous matte finish, so I'll be curious to see how luminous it is and how matte it is. So I think that we should just get straight on to using it. I picked the shade Creme Brulee, and I think it might be slightly too dark for me, but we will see. I'm so rubbish at picking colours online, like shades for myself. I'm going to give it a good shake because this I've not actually ever used yet. When I did my NARS review, I had already used that foundation a couple of times, but this I've not used at all. I'm really excited because I've heard a lot of really good things about it. So to apply it today, I'm going to be using a brush and a sponge. Usually I've been using the brush to really build up the coverage and then the sponge after to even it all out. And sometimes I just use the sponge because I love that as well. It's hit and miss really. Whatever is lying around, I use that to apply my foundation. So I'm going to do half and half today. I'm going to do half with the brush and then half with the sponge just to see how we get on. The consistency is quite a thick consistency and it does look really pigmented as well, which I like. So I'm going to start here and then just blend. Okay, it's very pigmented. I don't think I needed to pick that much up. Okay, the shade match isn't that bad actually. It looked a little bit darker in the bottle than it's actually looking on my skin. So I'm not mad at that. So I'm just pressing it in. Usually when I'm using a brush, I end up going over with the sponge anyway because you can see like little stipple marks sometimes. And then I'm just picking a tiny bit more up for my forehead. This foundation is very pigmented. You don't need a lot at all, which is really nice. I hate it when I end up using loads of foundation, especially when it's a little bit more expensive. I would expect not to have to use like that much. I'm liking the finish. It's more matte than I was expecting if I'm totally honest, but you can see there is a little bit of luminosity. Okay, going in with sponge. I'm just pressing this all over. I think with this foundation the sponge is going to be better for me because it's a little bit more matte than I was expecting, to be honest. The formula itself is actually quite interesting because you would think luminous matte, you would never put those together. Like, it's either a luminous dewy foundation or it's a matte foundation, whereas this, it feels quite matte on me. I don't know whether that's because I have got more dry skin, but at the same time it is luminous but in the right places as well. Like, it's not, I don't know, that's so weird. Everywhere that I would want to look glowy, I'm glowy, but everywhere else I'm not shiny, I'm matte. Very interesting formula. I've never seen anything like that before. Usually you're either a matte foundation or a luminous one. Okay, so that's one layer of the foundation. I used only just over one pump, which is amazing how much that's covered. I would say that is a medium to full coverage. All I'm going to do now is go in with my sponge just on extra areas where I want a little bit more coverage. So I'm literally using like half a pump. You can see it is quite a thick consistency and it's very, very pigmented as well. And that's what I like in a foundation. Even half a pump may be a little bit too much for what I need. I'm just going to go over the centre areas again, just build up a little bit of coverage with the sponge where I need it. You do have to blend quite quick with this. It is setting quite quick on me. Even though it's not completely drying down matte, it is drying a little bit on me, but that might be because I've got a really dry skin. I like that this isn't too matte that it's completely setting, because I can't really wear foundations like that because I am so dry. So the fact that it is a matte finish but it doesn't dry down dry, it's staying a little bit tacky, is really nice. So that is a full coverage layer of the foundation. I managed to get that in two and a bit pumps, which is amazing. I like when you don't have to use a lot of product. It shows how pigmented the product is, which is really nice. And you can also see when the light picks up, it is luminous, like in the right places. I think it's really nice how it does that, because I'm not shiny in any places which I don't want to be, but I am like on the high points of my face, which I'll apply highlighter to anyway later on. So I really like the formula. I've never seen any foundation do that before. I liked how it applied with a brush and a sponge. I really liked both, but I think the moisture in this just helped me out a little bit more because my skin is so dry and dehydrated at the moment. It just helped keep a little bit of moisture in the foundation while I was blending it out. I did feel like you did have to work quickly with it though. I don't know whether that's because I'm a bit more dry. I'm going to do my concealer and things now. So for concealer, I'm going to use my Tarte Shape Tape. I'm using light sand and light medium sand. I'm just going to use light sand in the very corners because my eyes are so sore and red at the moment, and this is just a little bit more of a yellow undertone, so it might just help colour correct my eyes a little bit. I don't know whether it's because when you have the heating on in your house more, or it's the weather because it's so cold and windy outside, that it just dehydrates your skin and my eyes get really sore. I have to put my eye drops in a lot more in the winter. So that's all the concealer I'm going to apply. Again, I'm using my sponge and I use the side that I've done my foundation with. I forgot to say as well, the foundation doesn't smell of anything. It's really nice. I'm very, very sensitive to, well, everything when it comes to my skin, but scents in particular in products just irritate me. So I'm really happy that she decided to change it because I've been really wanting to try this foundation for so long. But the one thing that put me off is the scent. Especially like I think it was like a rose scent. And I'm not really a fan of like rosy scents anyway, so I'm really glad that now it's not got any scent in. Okay, that's blended lovely over the top. Really, really happy. I'm going to move on to cream contour now. So I'm going to use my Morphe contour stick. I absolutely love this at the minute. It's like my favourite thing ever. It's the FX 13, the shade that I use. And it looks like this. There's quite a lot of product in there, so I haven't even had to wind it up yet, which is amazing. So I'm going to go in my usual places. And then do a little bit around my forehead as well. I don't know whether you can see my roots in this video, but is anybody else struggling with lockdown hair? Because mine is just shocking now. Okay, so I'm just using the Real Techniques brush to blend this out. This is the contour brush. Absolutely love this. I think this is my favourite contour brush. And it's blending really effortlessly actually. Sometimes when you start using like buffing brushes over your foundation, it does start to move the product and pull it up underneath. But this is not doing that, which is very nice. The contour sticks, the Morphe ones, are really blendable anyway. Okay, so all my creams are blended really nice over the top. Nothing's moved around or anything. I really like the finish. I love how full coverage it is, but it doesn't look or feel cakey on the skin. So I'm going to set my concealed areas now. I said this in my last foundation review, so because I am so dry, I don't set all of my face with powder. I only set with my loose powders, the centre of my face and my under eyes, and then I leave my bronzers and blushes and things like that to set like the perimeter of my face because I can't use that much powder. So I'm going to use a mix of two powders today. I'm going to use the Ben Nye Cameo powder mixed with some of the RCMA No Colour powder. I'm just going to make a little concoction on my desk. So I'm going to set my under eyes first because they're the areas that always end up creasing first. So I kind of just apply enough to take the tackiness away, and it just kind of just takes the shine away from where I don't want any shine. You can see I haven't applied that much, that highlight from the foundation has been mattened down, so just a tiny bit on my chin as well. My chin is an area which always ends up becoming a little bit shiny throughout the day, so we'll see if it happens to this one, but I haven't found a foundation yet which that doesn't happen. I think it happens to everybody. I think your chin is just one area which always tends to wear off, and your nose as well. So then I'll do a little bit around my nose. Okay, so that's enough setting powder. You can see I've kept the luminosity of the foundation in the places where I want to, which is really nice, and then we can move on to bronzer next. So I'm going to start with the Urban Decay Beach Bronzer. I absolutely love this. I might move on to another one, I'm not sure yet. I do like to mix my bronzers. I'm just going to pat this on, but as I say, I've not really tanned or anything at the minute, so I'm trying not to be too heavy-handed with the bronzer, which I usually am. So I'm applying the bronzer now to areas of the foundation which I've not yet set, so it's a tiny little bit tacky. So that is why I'm kind of pressing it on first, just to take the tackiness away and set the foundation, and then I can start to just buff a little bit in. So I just go in with a little bit of bronzer first, just to make sure that we are set, because I don't want to start buffing and moving all the foundation around. We want it to stay in that place. So once I've applied just a little bit of the bronzer, I can go in with a little bit more, and then I can just buff it in a little bit. I'm going to go in to my Nip and Fab palette now, and I'm just going to use a little bit of this end one here. This is the dark contour palette, but I use this all the time on my eyes, and when I'm a bit more fairer, I really like this as like a blush slash bronzer. So I'll just use a little bit of this as well. I do like to use different coloured bronzers and just layer them a little bit. I think it's really hard to find a bronzer when you are a little bit more fair, so I have to try and not be too heavy-handed. But this is a blush palette from Primark, and I'm just going to use that pinky shade there at the top, just on the apples here, and then blend back. I'm not going to apply any highlighter, I don't think, today, because I have got that luminosity still from the foundation and I want to see how that wears throughout the day. So I'm not going to apply any highlighter over the top, because to be honest, I really like the finish of it now. I really like how it can be matte but luminous at the same time. I really like the formula. And then last but not least, I'm going to put something on my lips. So first I'm going to use Bite Me from Morphe. This is one of my all-time favourite pencils at the minute. It's like a true brown. And then over the top of that, I'm going to use the NYX Soft Matte Lip Cream in Cake Town. Okay guys, so that is the finished look. It looks really, really nice. It does look very flawless. It is, of course, very full coverage. So I'm going to now give you my first impressions. It's definitely a luminous matte. I find the formula really interesting, the fact that it can be matte at the same time that it's luminous as well, and it was only luminous like in the places that you would want to be more luminous. I liked the fact that it didn't dry down completely matte, because it would have been a bit too dry for me if it did that, because I do have really dry skin. So I will be interested to see throughout the day if it becomes any drier, or if it does kind of just stay like this. I hope it just stay like this. It is a very full coverage foundation. Mostly a foundation will say that it's like a buildable to full coverage, whereas this is like straight in full coverage. It's really, really nice, and you don't need much either, which I like. It's a full coverage, very pigmented, and you don't need that much. So I think 2 pumps, maybe a little bit more, did all my face with a nice flawless coverage. Very, very nice. When you pump it out, it is quite a thick formula, but you don't need that much, so it doesn't look or feel cakey on the skin either, because it's that pigmented. So you don't need much, and you still get the coverage as well, which is amazing. So I'm going to wear this for as long as I can. So far, so good. I'm so happy that I'm able to try this. I will also again leave a clip of what this looks like in natural daylight if I can get a picture in natural daylight, because it's not even bright at all today. So I will do that for you as well. And I will come back later on when I've worn this for as many hours as I possibly can, and we'll see how well it's lasted. So I will see you very soon, in like a second for you guys. Today I haven't topped any of my makeup up all day today, and you can tell by my lips they're pretty much all worn off now, but the foundation has lasted really, really well. I have started to become a little bit shiny on my chin, but like I said earlier, that always happens to me. And I have blown my nose a couple of times, so it has just worn off a little bit in those places. But that always happens to me. Those are the areas that are always going to start to wear off first. Everywhere else has just stayed exactly the same as how I applied it this morning. It hasn't become any drier throughout the day, so it hasn't dried down any more than when I set it all this morning, which is really nice because it stayed nice and comfortable, and it hasn't dried out of anything. It literally looks exactly the same. And then you can see I'm still like luminous in the areas where I wanted to keep it, and those areas haven't become any more shiny or anything. They've stayed the same as well, which is really nice. It's been really comfortable. This would be a really good like foundation to keep with, well, when we're allowed to go out, like a going out foundation, because it looks really nice on the camera as well, and because it is a really good full coverage, it would be really good as a night out foundation. But I'm definitely going to carry on using this in my tutorials, and I will let you know how I get on. But so far so good. So that completes today's product review of the Huda Beauty the Faux Filter Luminous Matte Foundation. I really hope you did enjoy it. Let me know if you did down in the comments, and please give it a big thumbs up as well, and don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next week in my next one. Bye!